It's time for Around the Firm, sponsored by Business and Progressive Insurance. Now here's your host, Tony Reality.
Look alive, national panel. We've got partners from offices around the firm. Thomas Crosby, Susan Stills, Nancy Nash, and Neville Nerd. Hello everybody. Today we'll catch up with the details of the clarified audit standards. Emphasis on matter and other matter paragraphs. Whoa! Communicating internal control matters. Whoa! Special purpose frameworks. Whoa! Legal letters and restricted reports. Whoa! Let's go.
It's the opening word.
It's Clarified Audit Standards Day. The Auditing Standards Board has pretty much completed their project on clarified audit standards, and one of the new issues is some new terminology. Did you see that? That new terminology appeared to come out of nowhere. There it is, the emphasis of matter paragraph. And check that out, and other matter paragraph. How does this apply to this year's audits, and what effect is this going to have on auditors? Thomas Crosby.
First off, this is expanding on and takes the place of the older concept of explanatory paragraphs. The emphasis of matter paragraph will be used to highlight something that is actually disclosed in the financial statements, while the other matter paragraph will be used for items not disclosed.
Susan Stills.
Adding to Crosby's point, let me add that these paragraphs will be added to the standard audit report when required or added at the discretion of the auditor. In most cases, they will go after the opinion paragraph. However, under certain circumstances, they could go elsewhere.
Nancy Nash.
There are a lot of items which could go into the emphasis of matter paragraph, such as going concern or significant party transactions. But other items are actually required by the clarified standards. These include use of a special purpose framework, supplementary information, or a framework used in another country.
Ole, you're right about that. What about it, nerd? Nerd.
Oh, sorry. Well, you know, Tony, I think we're going to see an increase in the use of other matter paragraphs because they give the opportunity to comment on important issues not disclosed in the financial statements, and in some cases, auditors will be required to include the paragraph, such as when issuing a restricted report.
I think that we put too much emphasis on this topic. Let's move on to other matters. One of the issues that came out of the fraud cases of 2001 was the need for better communication about internal control issues. To address this, the board issued SAS 112. Whoa, what a disaster! It seemed that they wanted to cover everything. Then came SAS 115. That reined it in a bit. But wait, here comes the clarified standard, and it's game on! So is this clarified standard going to be a game changer for auditors? Nash?
Absolutely. I think the pendulum has swung back a bit towards SAS 112. I mean, first we had to essentially report every deficiency, and then, with 115, we could be a little more reasonable. Now we find ourselves going backwards.
Stills?
I think Nash is missing the point. The key here is not more, but better information. We're not returning to the report everything concept of 112. We're simply improving on 115 by now describing the possible effects of a deficiency. Isn't that what really matters?
What really matters is that our audience gets their CPE credit today. Get back in there, nerd.
As much as I hate to admit it, I agree with Stills. Ow! The revised definition of a significant deficiency under 115 still stands, but now we're expanding the internal control letter to better explain the deficiencies.
All right, Crosby.
I think you're all missing the big play here. Any items of significance that are not worthy of the internal control letter must now be communicated to management. By doing this, we meet everyone's needs. The most important issues go to everyone, and the minutia goes to management.
Crosby 15, Stills 18, Nash first to go with 13, and Nerd with 14. There's the horn. Let's take a break. Coming up, special purpose frameworks, legal letters, and restricted reports. Stick around.
Around the Firm is sponsored by Business. At Business, we mean business. It's none of your business, so mind your own business. Remember to work responsibly. For or against?
Whatever happened to OCBOA? Just look what the board has done with this. It looks like they have thrown out the concept right out of the game. And look who they're putting in as a replacement, special purpose frameworks. Stills, has the board gone crazy or what?
Not at all, Tony. They realized that the old concept of OCBOA was way too restrictive. Special purpose frameworks still include the concepts of cash, tax, and regulatory accounting just like before, but now we've opened it up to a brand new set of players. We're now going to see frameworks that do not have substantial support.
Crosby?
What Stills is talking about is the inclusion of contractual accounting. Clearly, this never had any substantial support because it was a set of rules designed for a specific purpose. In the past, this had no place to go because it wasn't GAAP and it wasn't OCBOA. What it is a framework designed for a special purpose.
Speaking of special, can you top that, nerd?
I think they've missed the biggest issue of all.
Really?
When this was first clarified, they removed the concept of a definite set of criteria having substantial support.
Because there really was no such thing, right?
Right, but now with the first SME, we have one. So they put this back in using the words reasonable set of criteria.
In the face, in the face! There it is. This is all sounding reasonable. Crosby with 22, Stills at 26, and Nerd 21. Flash round next with legal letters.
Flash round.
Wow, look at those auditors scurrying to get those legal letters. They're going after anyone that worked with the client during the year. And so many of the letters are going unreturned. But look, relief is on the way with a clarified standard. Nerd, what's your response?
It's about time. Why do we have to send letters to attorneys who simply drew up contracts and such? It was such a waste of time. The issue here is contingencies, not that they used an attorney.
Go ahead, Stills.
Well, this gets the process in line with risk assessment. Everything else in an audit is based on risk, so why not the legal letters as well? Basically, if you feel you need to send a letter, then send one. Otherwise, document why not and move on.
So how is an auditor to know what to do? Crosby?
It's pretty simple, Tony. Talk to management, review the minutes, and review the legal expenses. It's going to be fairly obvious, based on that information, when a contingency issue needs to be addressed. Once you identify it, fire off a letter.
Thomas, you know what happens now. Stills and Nerd, that's going to be our face-off. 2 experts enter, only one will win.
Around the Firm is sponsored by Regressive Insurance. If you're as tired of their stupid commercials as we are, it's time to regress. Regressive Insurance. Get with the flow.
It's amazing. Stills and Nerd in the face-off. 2 quick ones. Good luck to you both. Face-off 1. We've seen a late entry in the game with a clarification on restricted reports. Seems the board just couldn't pull it together in time for the launch of the clarified standards, but they have picked it up in overtime. Stills?
The main concept here is that auditors needed to get guidance when the auditor was required or decided to include restricted language in their report.
This is referred to as an alert. It is one of those situations where you would use an other matter paragraph.
Stills. Okay, what about details? Nerd?
You'll need to restrict the report whenever there is a potential for the report or other written communication to be misunderstood. You want to restrict the communication to the intended users.
This would always include the regulatory or contractual basis of accounting in an audit report and the internal control letter. Of course, there could be other examples as well.
Time's up. Point goes to the person with the best laugh. Oh my, there's no competition there. Stills, look at your score.
one more important point. The board has clarified its guidance on going concern. The auditor is now required to obtain written representations whenever there are conditions that suggest a going concern problem. And that's no laughing matter.
Neville Nerd ending the show with a winning laugh. That's going to do it for this show. We're on a 72.5-hour break. We'll see you around the firm. Here it is. Catch.